How are you, man?
I'm great.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I think before we even get into it, if you wouldn't mind, let's just go to some music and then we'll have a chat afterwards.
That sounds like a plan.
Awesome.
I just got back from my mother. Wherever made me feel so fine. Looking out on the lay of the land, stretching out below. Sure I was right, that it was you, California. Right from the start, you made me whole. Show me everything I know. Just a wave upon the shore, but I'm yours forever more. Do 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 do. Yeah, just you, California, and me. The harvest moon through the whispering pine, the ocean breezes immerse through the vines. Nowhere ever made me feel so fine. Only you, California, yeah, yeah, you, California, and me. Right from the start, you made me whole. Show me everything I know. Just a wave upon your shore. Yeah, I'm yours. Right from the start till I go. You'll be my shelter from a world so cold. I'm a wave upon your shore, but I'm yours forever more.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. That was great.
Thank you.
I think I heard over chat that we might have had some streaming issues right at the beginning, which happens in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I just want to, if you don't mind, just recap a little bit. Welcome everybody to your big music moment. Our presenting sponsor is Better Energy, make an amazing CBD energy drink, and we're here with Shane Alexander, and we're very privileged to be with him today. And he's an amazing artist. And speaking of which, Shane, how you're this prolific artist, you're also a producer. What was the journey into this world of music, and what inspires you? What keeps you going, and what are you up to?
Well, that's a lot of questions.
It is.
I got into music at a very, very young age, as most of us did. Around 5 or 6, I was struck with the rock. And sometime between 5 and 10, my father played a Black Sabbath 8-track that he had, and it really changed my life. And then all I talked about was wanting a guitar. And so at 10 years old, I got my first guitar, and I spent most of my teens playing hard rock and metal and stuff like that in bands. And then after college, I moved to Los Angeles to go to music school and study guitar a little more. And then eventually I started writing songs, and then eventually I started singing songs kind of last. And so I had a band called Damone in the late 90s, early 2000s. And when that band sort of imploded, I went solo and kind of never looked back. I put out an EP in 2003, and then I put out my first full-length record in 2005. And the end of that year, 2005, I went to Holland for the first time, which has become a home away from home. And I've been touring internationally ever since, and doing those things that indies do to survive.
And so, is that a big fan center for you, Europe and Holland especially?
Have been like homes away from home for a long time. I've toured both of those countries many, many times, probably between 20 and 25 times I've been over there. And yeah, it's a big part of my deal.
It's interesting because a lot of artists are from the U.S. They're popular in Europe, and then vice versa. If you want to break in the United States, go to London. Or at least that's how it used to be.
Right.
For a lot of the indie bands. And speaking of which, you have a pretty great roster of artists that you've played with or shared the stage with: Seal, Bon Iver, Jewel, Styx, which was my favorite band as a kid,
Right.
and John Hyatt. But those are all pretty serious musicians, and I noticed, in your style that, musicality is a big part of what you do. And does that come from, is that your study? Did you study classical at all? Where does that come from?
I went to music school, but basically I'm self-taught. I'm self-taught, and finger picking and things like that are also self-taught. And
Really?
my musical sort of lineage is all over the road, but somewhere between Black Sabbath and Neil Young is my North Star.
That's a pretty wide pool you've left yourself, so that's great.
Yeah. I love electric guitar too. I don't play electric guitar as much as I used to, but I love it a lot. And again, when my band fell apart, my old band was sort of more like Led Zeppelin meets U2. We were a hard rock band with extended solos and stuff like that. And when I left that, I literally stripped it down to just me. And so the majority of the things that I've done, the big tours that I've done too, all of those artists that you mentioned, I opened for them solo acoustic. And,
Okay.
And so I've gotten to do a lot of big stages by myself. And when I was a teenager, I saw Neil Young at the Greek, and he was solo acoustic, and that was a real sort of watershed moment for me to see the power of one man and the guitar and what it can do. And
I don't know if I was at that exact show, but I remember though I saw him, and the drum set was him stomping on the stage. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty special. And
Yeah,
I was being moved to tears. And he did Keep on Rocking in the Free World solo acoustic, which was just, super special. And and yeah, it was a big change. And so when I toured with Styx and Yes, I got to play the Greek solo acoustic, which was a really beautiful full circle kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on that tour, I got to play a lot of my bucket list stages, including Red Rocks and stuff. And so, as an independent, I've been really blessed to do some cool things and just trying to keep the lights on and the chimney smoking, as it were.
Great. Well, and speaking of keeping the lights on, everyone, if you could go support Shane, on his different socials. There's a link on Twitch for us if you want to donate and help him, keep moving his music along. And we'll talk next time. But Shane has some unique and beautiful perspective on bringing beauty in the world. Sorry to foreshadow that a little bit. And speaking of more beauty, what two songs are you going to play for us now?
All right, 2 songs. All right, let's see. I thought I'd do a brand new song that I don't know very well yet. This is a song I wrote with Chris Pierce, who's one of my dearest friends in a Los Angeles institution. And we've toured together twice. over the years. And we wrote this song here in December. We were trying to think about something to write about, and we just kind of kept coming up with getting older and making peace with everything. And so yeah, this is about growing up. Uh, it's called Time Flies.
Nice.
Thinking about time going by, starting to wonder why the years piled up so wide, right before my eyes. Looking in the rear, everything seems so clear. Remember back in '98, remember I couldn't wait. I'd try anything, I still remember everything. Crazy how it all flew by. Looking at the road behind, when all is said and done, we sure did have some fun. Running in the west side sun in the sweet summer night. Now there's more yesterdays than tomorrows in my life. Time flies. Staring at the microphone, wondering how to make it home. Looking for a sweet delight, gonna make me feel alright. Someone fill that space, fill my heart with grace. She came crashing in, and never feel the same again. Looking through bright new eyes, every day a new sunrise. Wouldn't trade anything for the love that she brings. When all is said and done, we sure did have some fun. Running in the west side sun in the sweet summer night. Now there's more yesterdays than tomorrows in my life. Time flies when it's all going right. In the blink of the night, to leave you behind. When all is said and done, we sure did have some fun. Running in the west side sun in the sweet summer night. Now there's more yesterdays than tomorrows in my life. When all is said and done, we sure did have some fun. Running in the west side sun in the sweet of the night. Now there's more yesterdays than tomorrows in my life. Time flies. Time flies. All right, that's a new one. We're moving on to another song from my last record. It was a song about love, the ghost and the specter of love. It's called Something Real Never Dies. The sun won't come down here tonight. I'm picturing your hair in the golden summer light. There's no room for the stars and the night just can't start. Pictures of you come to mind. And once in a while I still think of your smile and the way something real never dies. All that was once before keeps me reaching for more. Do you think of me once in a while? Some days just won't ever end. They circle around you again and again. They bend time and space, keep you running in place, till you're torn between the now and the then. And once in a while I still think of your smile, and the way something real never dies. All that was once before keeps me reaching for more. Do you think of me once in a while? Do you think of me once in a while? There's no way back in time. There's no peace that I can find. There's no going back tonight. Once in a while I still think of your smile, and the way something real never dies. All that was once before keeps me reaching for more. Do you think of me once in a while? Do you think of me once in a while? Think of me once in a while. All right.
Nice. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That is very beautiful. That last one has a very plaintive lilt to it. And speaking of beauty, one thing that we were mentioning, or that you mentioned rather, in your last, when we were just chatting, is your your desire to, your goal as an artist is bringing beauty into the world, be it through your music or through just anything you're enabling. I know you're a producer, you're in your studio. We see a lot of guitars on the wall. Check out his studio on Instagram. It's very cool. I'm a little jealous, but which is not a part of beauty. But I think that's amazing, and that's what a lot of artists share, is this desire just to put something good out into the world. And you mentioned a little bit about being a Buddhist songwriter, and how does that all fit together? Where do your songs come from, and how does that make this picture that is your body of work and what you do in and out of music for yourself and for others?
I used to work at a record company. I worked for Irving Azoff, and there was a woman that worked next to me, and she was a Buddhist, and she talked to me about it for a year or two. This is when I was just starting to sing and be a front man and kind of getting my thing together. And she's like, "You should chant, you should practice." And so she really took a long time and kind of wore me down. And then I went to a meeting, and I've been practicing Buddhism now for about 22 years. And I practice what's called Nichiren Buddhism. And the end goal of the Buddhism that we practice is called Kozen Ruthu, which is world peace through individual human revolution. So meaning that as everyone does work on themselves, there's a ripple effect. And so the more that you practice, the more you sort of, quote, polish the mirror, right? And you see yourself for who you really are, and you try to take responsibility for it and to put some positivity out there. And so for me, my what I do is I'm an artist and I go out into the world and I meet strangers all over the place, and so I feel a real responsibility trying to put some beautiful music out there. I put a lot of real music and I have a lot of dark music too, but there's an overall sort of message, I think, of hope and peace that I try to stick to, and that's worked for me, and that's my small contribution. And yeah, I just feel like to have the microphone is a privilege, and you know, trying to use your powers for good is sort of the way to be.
Well, I would definitely argue it's more than a small contribution, but that's interesting, and I think recognizing that what you put into the world is something that travels beyond you
Yeah,
is that's really cool, and I think something, especially
you know,
these
and the
days.
more you do it, the more you do it, the more you sort of get into a rhythm, and I feel really protected, and I've cultivated amazing friendships, you know, throughout the U.S. and Europe in particular. I have many dear friends that sort of pass me off to each other as I'm on tour, and so I always feel really protected and looked after. And so yeah,
That's
I
great.
feel blessed. You know, I'm married. I've got a 18-year-old daughter, and I'm a rock and roll papa. And I've been for a long time, and it's not without its challenges. But when it's working, hopefully people feel something and get a little escape from their own reality for a moment, or think about life, or think about, you know, heavy things. Like I mentioned when I saw Neil Young, you know, the way that moved me to tears, you know, was really special, and that reminded me that what art can do. And so I've
Yeah.
been trying to live up to that standard since.
That's amazing. I think, art and music, part of its job is to explain ourselves to ourselves in a different way and bring something new to that internal conversation. And music, because it injects itself into our subconscious, is a unique vector for that. And so
Yeah.
I think it's being part of that is truly a special thing.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, what do you have for us for a
I
closer?
don't know, right? Yeah, I thought I would do a song by Tim Krekel, who's an artist from Louisville, Kentucky, that was a friend of mine who passed away a few years ago. And I've been trying to
Well,
keep this song alive. I put it on my record called Bliss. It was the first time I ever put a cover song on a record. And yeah, when I met him in Kentucky, he came to a show of mine and he gave me his record, and the song was on his record, and it just blew my mind. It was so beautiful, and so I've just sort of adopted it and kind of tried to make it my own while still holding a torch for Tim, who was an amazing talent. So yeah, the song is called "The Angels Share." I'm intoxicated from the air that lingers after you've been there, as it rises like a prayer and becomes the angel's share. No, I would not even try to hold something that was meant to fly. Spread your sweet joy everywhere. I just want the angels share. Now it's coming back to me. Love was always meant to set you free. I'm in a reverie in space. In every cloud, I see your face as I take in rarefied air. As I am the angels here, I just want the angels here. I'll just have the angels here. Just like that.
Wow. Well, as someone commented, that is a beautiful way to remember somebody. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing your music and your art and your well wishes to the world. I think it's something that we can all use and internalize right now, and it's really cool that you were able to kind of bring that here to us. And so we really
Thank you for having me. Thanks for big music and to feel better and for making me feel better.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. We're gonna got a little situation going on, so I'm gonna ask you to stick on screen for just 1 second while I shout out once again our sponsor. Better Energy. You can see them at Feel Better. And they've got a great new CBD energy drink out now. You can get it with promo code BIGMusic, BYGMusic. Thank you for Musicians on Call for being part of our experience and helping music heal the world. And we'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific for more great music. Thanks, everybody.